Hi, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about discrimination and segregation after the war. Discrimination is when you do not treat someone equally, and segregation is when people are separated. We're going to learn that really in the South, African Americans and white people, even though African Americans were now free, they were separated. They weren't allowed to do a lot of the same things as white people. So the legacy of the Reconstruction, the Compromise of 1877, ended Reconstruction and removed the military from the South. And African Americans gained citizenship and voting rights. I remember free citizens vote. 13th Amendment is free. It abolished slavery, got rid of slavery. It's no longer in the United States. 14th Amendment, citizens, that gave birthright citizenship. And 15th Amendment, vote. All males can vote regardless of color. So remember, free citizen vote. 13th Amendment is free. 14th Amendment is citizens. And 15th Amendment is vote. All of these amendments helped African Americans. In the South, there was something called Jim Crow laws. And these laws limited the freedoms for African Americans. And after Reconstruction, many Southern states governments passed Jim Crow laws, forcing separation of and let me fix this real quick because I forgot to put it in, of races in public places. So just what that means is, for instance, if there was drinking fountains, if you were white, you had to use one drinking fountain. If you were colored, you had to use another. Same thing on buses. White people had to sit in certain seats and colored people had to be in other seats. And there was lots of discrimination of African Americans. There was intimidation and crimes were directed against African Americans. There was lynchings, which is where you're hung by the neck, were used as a method of killing as well as intimidating others. And African Americans looked to courts to safeguard their rights. But a lot of African Americans, they didn't have rights. The sign kind of shows an example. But a lot of African Americans were killed during this time and nothing happened. There's a famous Supreme Court case, and it is called Plessy versus Ferguson. And the Supreme Court ruled that separate but equal did not violate the 14th Amendment. So it upheld Jim Crow laws of that era. So the Supreme Court, which is the highest court in the United States, the country has to follow whatever they say. They said that you are allowed to separate people as long as it's equal. As you can tell in the sign, it was not equal. The white people have a nice water fountain that it's refrigerated, it's cold. Colored people had the smaller one that is not refrigerated. But Plessy versus Ferguson, a Supreme Court case that said you were allowed to separate people. This led to the Great Migration, and during the early 20th century, African Americans moved to the northern cities in search of jobs to escape poverty and discrimination in the South. Because the South, if you're African American, you face a lot of discrimination, and they were poor as well. It was hard to get jobs. So a lot of African Americans moved to northern cities. This map shows where they're going to escape the South. However, many African Americans found that the North was not much unlike the South when it came to racial attitudes and use of subtle ways to enforce separation of the races. So even in the North, it wasn't as bad, but there was still a lot of separation of the races. This is everything we're going to learn for this unit. We're going to start reviewing, and the Civil War test will be in about a week and a half. We'll probably do it on December 3rd or sometime around there. I'll tell you guys the exact date. If you have any questions, let me know.